The Six Doctrines of Nāropa are the most significant yogic and meditative techniques of the Tibetan Kagyu School, also known as the Six Yogas of Nāropa or the Six Dharmas of Nāropa. They encompass what Tibetan masters call the oral instruction transmission for achieving liberation in the bardo, which is the path to achieving Buddhahood, the condition and state of a Buddha. This collection of advanced tantric practices was transmitted by Tilopa and Naropa to the Tibetan translator-yogi Marpa Lotsawa. Although Tilopa initially taught these techniques, it was Naropa who refined and expanded them into a comprehensive system and then transmitted this knowledge to his disciples, particularly Marpa. This is why these practices bear Naropa's name. As with almost all Buddhist teachings, it is said that the original source of the Six Doctrines of Nāropa comes from Buddha himself, who 2,500 years ago taught many sutras and tantras. The Six Yogas are thus considered a synthesis of numerous tantric doctrines he taught. As we previously mentioned, this system was first formulated by the Indian master Tilopa. So it's only fair that we start by asking ourselves, who was Tilopa? And how did he come to create these tantric practices? Tilopa, the first guru of the Kagyu lineage, was born in 988 in Bengal and spent his youth supporting his family by tending to buffaloes. As the Buddhist theologist Glenn H. Mullen illustrates, this work gave Tilopa plenty of spare time, and as he sat in the fields with his herds, he passed the hours first by learning to read and write, and then by studying and memorizing many of the great Buddhist scriptures. By the time he reached his teens, he had become self-educated in the classics. After he reached adulthood, he journeyed to Odiyana, the present-day Swat Valley of Pakistan, where he received numerous transmissions from a group of female mystics. Later, he traveled widely and studied under many different Buddhist masters. He spent years in the intensive practice of meditation and eventually achieved enlightenment. It is said that during his later life, Tilopa was able to perform numerous miraculous activities, such as stopping the sun in its path, shape-shifting into animal forms, flying through the sky, and visibly manifesting tantric mandalas in space. Tilopa received the complete Mahamudra and Vajrayana transmissions from several great tantric masters in India. He is also considered to have received these teachings directly from Buddha Vajradhara, the primordial form of Buddha Shakyamuni. Tilopa then synthesized these teachings into what became known as the Six Doctrines, which he transmitted to his foremost disciple Naropa. The great Mahasiddha Naropa was born into a noble family in the small kingdom of Bengal, northern India in 1016 CE. Deeply aware of the transient and unsatisfactory nature of worldly life, he began his studies at a young age, with sources varying between 8 and 11 years old. Driven by a profound yearning for spiritual growth, he traveled to Kashmir, a prominent center of Buddhist learning at the time, and spent 3 years there pursuing his studies. Despite his deep spiritual aspirations, Naropa initially complied with his parents' wishes and entered into an arranged marriage with a young Brahmin woman. After 8 years, both parties decided to dissolve the marriage and pursue ordination. At the age of 28, Naropa enrolled at the renowned Buddhist University of Nalanda, where he studied both Sutra and Tantra. Among the many stories of Naropa's spiritual quest, one particularly striking tale illustrates a crucial turning point in his journey. It recounts a decisive encounter with an old woman in the year 1057 that profoundly impacted his spiritual development. According to the story, while he was absorbed in study one day, a hideous old woman appeared at his side and asked if he knew the words or the meaning. When Naropa replied that he knew the words, the old woman laughed and danced with delight. Hoping to please her further, Naropa added that he also understood the meaning. Abruptly, the old woman burst into tears. When Naropa inquired into the reason for her distress, she replied, You spoke the truth when you said you knew only the words, but you lied when you said that you knew their meaning." Accordingly, Naropa asked who might know the meaning. "Seek my brother Tilopa," the old woman advised, "and beg him to teach you the meaning." So saying, she vanished like a rainbow. Naropa then left the university and embarked on a search for Tilopa, a journey that, according to Buddhist historiography, was long and filled with hardship. After enduring immense suffering and nearly succumbing to despair, Naropa was on the brink of ending his own life when Tilopa finally appeared. When Naropa asked why Tilopa had seemed to avoid him, Tilopa explained that he had been with him all along. However, due to Naropa's obscured mind, clouded by confusion and delusion, he had been unable to perceive Tilopa's presence amidst the tormenting visions he experienced. After this encounter, Naropa underwent an intense 12-year training under Tilopa. During this period, he received direct teachings and practical demonstrations of the techniques involved in the Six Doctrines. Naropa also engaged in profound meditative practices that helped him internalize these teachings, while enduring numerous tests and trials set by his master. Ultimately, he achieved enlightenment. Naropa's teachings had a profound impact, particularly through his student Marpa Lotsawa. Marpa's translations and teachings of Naropa's insights were crucial in spreading Vajrayana Buddhism throughout Tibet and beyond. This transmission helped shape various Central Asian Buddhist sects, which continue to hold the Six Doctrines of Nāropa as a core teaching even today. Now that we have explored the background of Naropa and his profound training under Tilopa, it's time to delve into the essence of the Six Doctrines. We know that these teachings were initially formulated by Tilopa and then further refined by Naropa, who perfected them through his intense practice. Naropa later passed these teachings to Marpa Lotsawa, a pivotal figure in Tibetan Buddhism, who brought these teachings to Tibet. It is important to note that while Tilopa and Naropa incorporated numerous elements from various tantric sources, and Naropa transmitted these teachings to Marpa Lotsawa, it remains unclear who established the six-fold structure that became known in Tibet. Lama Hun Lai explains that the Six Doctrines of Nāropa, or the Naro Chodruk, Naro Chostrug, are a collection of practices of the unexcelled or highest class of yoga tantras. As completion stage practices, they involve the dissolution of a practitioner's visualization of and identification with a deity into the realization of luminous emptiness. Their practice combines visualization, mantra recitation, breathing exercises, and meditation on the body's subtle energy channels and chakras. These techniques aim to purify the practitioner's mind and body, dissolve the dualistic perception of self and other, and awaken the inherent wisdom of the mind. Before delving into the Six Doctrines, practitioners must embark on this journey through foundational meditations on the impermanence of life, the sufferings of samsara, the difficulties in obtaining a favorable rebirth for practicing the Dharma, a deep commitment to renouncing this life, nurturing kindness and compassion toward all beings, and embracing the infinite Bodhi mind, which is the profound aspiration to assist all sentient beings in attaining Buddhahood. The Six Doctrines represent the culmination of Vajrayana Buddhism, offering profound teachings that enable practitioners to access the most subtle levels of consciousness, which are essential for directly realizing the ultimate nature of reality. When we refer to the Six Doctrines, Tumo or inner heat, Gyulu or illusory body, Usul or clear light, Milam or dream yoga, Bardo or the intermediate state, and Poa or the transference of consciousness, When we refer to the Six Doctrines, we are referring to practices that, as with all Buddhist teachings, ultimately aim to lead individuals to Buddhahood, a state characterized by compassion, wisdom, and skillful means. The yoga of inner heat, or tummo, is considered the root of the path, as it purifies our mind and body, leading to profound states of realization and blissful awareness. The practice begins with visualizing our body's energy channels, winds, drops, and chakras. Through specific breath-holding exercises, we generate inner heat, which helps vital winds flow into the central channel, inducing blissful experiences. This yoga also involves focusing on seed syllables at the chakras and meditating on emptiness. Over time, we aim to master this process, achieving enhanced clarity, inner heat, and bliss. The yoga of illusory body, or gyulu, helps us recognize the illusory nature of all phenomena, including our own body, thereby deepening our insight into emptiness. By studying our reflection in the mirror, we visualize our non-dual body-mind and aim to dissolve duality into a state of non-duality. The third yoga, clear light, or osel, is considered both the source and ultimate goal of our life's meaning. It enables us to access the subtlest level of consciousness, which reflects the ultimate nature of reality. This practice involves meditating on emptiness and recognizing moments of pure awareness that arise during meditation. Additionally, clear light practice includes techniques for recognizing the state during sleep and at the time of death. Dream yoga, or milam, allows us to explore deeper aspects of ourselves by delving into the inner workings of the mind. Its main goal is to enable us to rest in the state of clear light mind during sleep and maintain this awareness throughout the waking state. Dream yoga involves tantric processes and techniques within the trance bardos of dream and sleep. We learn to remain aware during dreams and use this skill to engage in spiritual practice within the dream state. The intermediate state, or bardo yoga, focuses on navigating the state between death and rebirth, training us to recognize and respond to bardo experiences as they arise. This practice includes meditation on the impermanent nature of life to prepare us for the inevitability of death. It also involves visualization practices, such as visualizing deities or the clear light of mind to stabilize our consciousness. Lastly, transference of consciousness, or poa, is a practice meant to ensure that we can transfer our consciousness at the time of death into a state of primordial awareness, also known as a pure land or higher realm, in case enlightenment has not been attained during life. Techniques associated with poa include visualizations, such as imagining the transfer of consciousness through a central channel or into a pure realm, mantra recitations, and meditation on emptiness. Buddhist masters commonly explain that the first three yogas of inner heat, illusory body, and clear light are the real methods for accomplishing enlightenment in one lifetime. The last three yogas of dream yoga, intermediate state, and transference of consciousness are particularly important for those who have not attained enlightenment before death. They provide powerful methods for navigating the transition of death, either to continue spiritual practice in the bardo state, achieve a favorable rebirth, or transfer consciousness to a pure realm. As the first Panchen Lama explained in his book, The Golden Key, a profound guide to the Six Yogas of Nāropa, the idea is that if one is not able to accomplish all the practices leading to enlightenment before death comes to destroy one's body vessel, then in order to fulfill the purposes of oneself and others, one engages the yogas of either consciousness transference or projection into another body. Alternatively, if one is unable to effect this transference, or if one wishes instead to attempt to accomplish final enlightenment in the bardo, then there's the doctrine of the bardo yogas. One interesting aspect of the Six Doctrines tradition is that it teaches that there are actually 3 intermediate periods or bardo states. These 3 states are the transitional periods between birth and death, or bardo of ordinary life, between falling asleep and waking, or the bardo of dreams, between death and the next life, or the bardo of becoming. At any given moment, all living beings find themselves in one or more of the 3 bardo states, driven by the momentum of their past actions, their karma. A distinctive aspect of the Six Yogas tradition is that it provides a set of meditative techniques for mastering each of these states. It is also interesting to note that all completion stage practices are directly or indirectly connected with the inner heat. By mastering inner heat, we gain full conscious control over the Vajra body and achieve the ability to bring the mind to its most subtle and penetrating state, the clear light experience. This extraordinarily powerful state of mind is unparalleled in its capacity to gain direct, penetrating insight into ultimate truth, thus eliminating all afflictive states of mind. Through advanced completion stage practices, our body, speech, and mind become essential resources for spiritual growth, channeling all forms of craving energy into the path. As we progress, we develop the ability to navigate the challenges of death and beyond with complete awareness and control. Ultimately, at the culmination of our journey, we reach a blissful state of unlimited awareness, known as full enlightenment. In this state, we spontaneously and effortlessly fulfill our compassionate intentions to benefit all beings. For 1,000 years, the Six Doctrines of Nāropa have inspired meditators across Central Asia, and their popularity continues to grow. They are practiced to some extent in all sects of Tibetan Buddhism, although they are more prominent in the Kagyu and Gelugpa schools. They began to arrive in the West in the mid-20th century, largely due to the Chinese invasion, which forced many masters to flee. Since that time, interest in this corpus of teachings has continued to grow, serving as a bridge that connects ancient Indian and Tibetan wisdom with modern seekers of enlightenment.